Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles. My name is Danny De Lillo and I'm here with Jesse with his movie Beam. Let's take a look at a clip. Jesse, thanks so much for being here in this virtual experience.
Yes, thank you for having me.
You have the best background I've seen yet. I absolutely love it, and I want to be there. But listen, thank you so much for bringing Beam to us. Such a brilliant film. We all loved it at our film festival. But for those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis.
Yeah, Beam's about this thief, a down on her luck thief, just trying to make ends meet, and she's gifted with this teleportation device that she uses to go on runs and make heists happen, and she uses that to support her family, and she gets in a bit of a trouble on her last gig, and the movie basically shows what unfolds.
This is such a brilliant idea. Like, I love it. Now, we've seen movies that kind of touch on, this kind of subject, but the way you articulated it was like, it was, sometimes when they show these kind of, these sci-fi experiences with the teleportation, you sort of almost, you're in fear of what it is and what it looks like. But yeah. I wanted to do it. I was like, this is amazing. This is fantastic. And it was brilliant. I can't believe you captured so much in a short film. It was amazing. Where did the inspiration come for you in creating this particular project?
For this, I always love action movies. So, I've wanted to make an action centric story, but I couldn't just do it with teleporting. Like, I love superhero stuff. So I'm like, I love teleporting, I love action, but I need to ground it in some way. So, I try to figure out, what is kind of something that we could all relate to. And that's just, family drama. So things struggling at home, whether it's trying to make ends meet or relationship with your siblings and, parents. So I try to ground it with that. But yeah, definitely with the teleporting, we want to ground it and make it feel like it's something that technologically, it's not too far out there.
Yeah. Well, listen, this is the thing. I'm glad you said that because I love, like you, I love superhero sci-fi experiences. I could watch them all day. But what was so magical about your film is that you actually really showed the heart of this family and what they were going through. And sometimes in these sci-fi, they're so lost in the CGI or this and that and the other, you kind of almost don't feel enough for the characters. And I couldn't believe that I was enjoying this sci-fi experience and everything else in this action movie. And I was really feeling for this family. And I was like, was that obviously something important that you wanted to have, that element of feeling something that was relatable, real life, mother was going through something. And was that something that was important to you in articulating that in this type of genre?
Yeah, for sure. Because you definitely don't want just flashes of action stuff without any substance, because we've seen so much of that. And I really wanted to make it where you care about this, our protagonist going through all this, this action, this lots of, conflict. So we really try to make it, reasonable as to why you would push yourself this far to do these things. So I think, family is the most common element that we try to, hone in on and make sure that really worked.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think you had a really solid cast. Obviously your protagonist had a lot to do as well and everything else. How did you come about bringing your cast together?
Yeah, our lead is played by Dia Frampton. She's super awesome and talented, as you can tell. I didn't know her, but I knew a couple of my friends. One of my producers had sort of a connection with her in previous projects. So we were trying to figure out a way to maybe we weren't sure how she would feel about something so physical. And so, that you're just putting yourself on the line. You're literally through, beginning to end of the film. So, one of my producers got into contact with someone that knew her and someone knew her, and then all these emails. And we just, we talked and she was instantly game for it. Like, there's no questions, no hesitation. She was just like, I love this. I want to do it. And we're like, okay, that's crazy. But yeah, let's do this.
Is that because I mean, when you are obviously I think it's an actor's dream when you're able to just have something you can really get your teeth stuck into in a physical and mental and emotional way. But it must be nice for you as a director to be like, this is why I made this film and this is the person I wanted to be the person in it as well, because you really have to get someone that's just gonna commit 100% fully to this role, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny enough, like she was always my first pick, but like I was always, worried that she wouldn't, you know, choose to go with it. So when she finally said yes, there was this huge relief, but also this insane amount of stress and anxiety. It's like now that she said yes, we actually have to pull this off and make her look good and make it all look good. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was quite the emotional up and down when she said yes.
Well, what's amazing is particularly this, this genre sci-fi action. I mean, it tend to be, usually quite long films, because there's just so much of it. You have to kind of almost imagine this world that you're being taken into. And I always find that's why Marvel movies are always so long, because, this is a whole world they're trying to show you in
Mm-hmm.
3 hours. I could believe your film length, and like you took me into this world in a matter of minutes. It was incredible. And like, I'm so curious, how on earth did you create all this fantastic effects? Like, my goodness me, I was completely convinced you were just taking me into this teleporting world.
Yeah, I think yeah, that's kind of like the trap that a lot of these sci-fi fantasy superhero films fall into. Is you got to tell the origin, understandably. But this one, we just were like, you know what, you guys, audience gets it. There's teleporting. It's in a backpack. It's technological. Doesn't forget all that fluff. Let's just go right into it. And if people want to know more, maybe they can just let their imagination flow, or maybe we can come up with the story later on that could justify all this. But for that, just for the sure, we were like, let's just get to the meat of it. Let's just not waste our time with that.
And so for you, how, like, because I knew from the first, like, in the first shot, like, well, the wonderful landscape, but then when you go into these insane, almost like car chase experience scenes, how on earth do you direct something like that?
Man, well, that took a lot of coordination, a lot of just luck and pure just hoping and praying it all works out. But yeah, lots of storyboards. I definitely storyboarded, so much in detail that everyone on the crew can look at it and just get a gist of it. And we kind of the environment really kind of told us what to do with it. So we had to find a parking garage that just had enough space for us to run around and have cars in. And when we found one, we were like, all right, just looking at it, what's kind of the coordination, what's the choreography that we're feeling, and just kind of mostly spoke to us after seeing
Yeah.
the space.
And going on the storyboarding is like, for people that kind of want to say, make a film like this, is storyboarding an important element for all kind of genres for you, or is it particularly with this kind of genre, it's even more important? Like, how is that process for you?
I personally think storyboarding for regardless of the project is pretty important, because I think there's you can only say things in a certain way that'll connect to your team, but I think when you visually draw it out, no matter how bad of an artist you are, as long as you have some sort of idea of where the actor's standing, where these key pieces are standing, the team will understand what they're doing, where it's supposed to go, at least a general idea. So I
Yeah.
think regardless of the project, storyboarding is always pretty helpful.
Now there's a series of challenges, maybe we've even spoke about some of them, but what was the biggest challenge you faced in making this project?
Oh boy. A lot of the stunts, a lot
Yeah,
of,
right.
the action scenes you see in the film are very stressful, and just so much was, on those moments. Cause it's all those stunt scenes are thankfully propelling the story. It's not fluff. It's not, just for, eye candy. So that was a major stress. The desert scene that you see, that wide landscape, was
Yeah.
very stressful because we couldn't find one. So we just found a random patch of desert out in
Really?
Palmdale, and
Wow.
we had a very small crew that day, and it was freezing. It was like
Look cold.
we got there maybe 5 a.m. and it was like 30, 40s,
Oof.
so it was pretty cold.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, at least you got the shot. You can at least
Yes.
say that anyways. No, that, I mean, goodness me, there's so many. And so with the stunts, did you have a stunt coordinator, or
Mm-hmm.
is that kind of, and how have you worked with stunt coordinators before? Is that your first experience?
Yeah, it was my first experience with the stunt coordinator on a project I worked on, and his name is James Krog. He was really awesome. He really kind of ran me through all the little things and stunts and the big things that we can possibly pull off. And yeah,
Mm.
he was super helpful, cooperative, and just really helped coordinate a lot of these moments that, I was having trouble kind of explaining. He's like, what about this? I'm like, that's way better than what I was thinking. So let's try that. So he was super big on that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the one thing that you know, all of your all the stunt and fight and scenes, they all added and progressed the story, which was actually refreshing. You know, like if there
Hmm.
was no feeling of like, oh, it's here's the stunt scene or anything else, it all led the story forward, which I really loved, and I
Hmm.
certainly noticed as well. You know, there was a real kind of like hearty morality element, family feeling about this whole thing, and you know, I mean, I think even aside from being this genre, I think there's a kind of a lot of relation to anyone that's been going through something in their family as well. Like, I mean, was that kind of important as well, that it just kind of evolved as this kind of universal family story on top of being in this telepathic world?
Hmm. Yeah, and I think I really want to relate to, you know, what I feel like I was personally going through, where it's just you feel so locked in because of, you know, family obligations or responsibilities, and it's just how do you kind of balance that? You know, you want to do, you know, right for your family, but also you want to, you know, go off on do your own, you know, stuff, and it's just kind of our central character is kind of struggling that with her sister, where it's like, you know, main character, she's dealing with the responsibilities of the home, but you know, the little sister, she's trying to figure out her own life, her future, and
Yeah.
all these things. So that's
Yeah.
kind of like what really hit home for me and my team.
Yeah, no, definitely. I thought it was really, you know, wonderfully articulated. So what is it like after going through so much and creating your project to then have your film? It was so great to have us at New Filmmakers LA. What was the experience like when you start getting that audience reaction and seeing your film? How was that for you?
Yeah, it's super awesome. Like just seeing that people were genuinely excited about it, and they genuinely, you know, the most common response I had was like they want more, they want more, they want to see what happens after, you know, the credits roll. And I was like, wow, you guys actually were so invested enough to want to see that. So I was like, that's pretty exciting. And yeah, it's just fun to see a fresh take, because I've been so close to it that all I know is my own personal experiences and opinions with it. So it was awesome seeing everyone's reactions to it.
It's like releasing your film baby to the world, isn't it? And being like, you hope everyone loves your baby, you know?
Yes,
So
my strange baby. Will, you know, I know all the flaws and all the imperfections, but people seem to really gravitate towards.
I honestly like I really really hope that you know, if it's something you want to do, that your future involves you just, you know, working on many big action features, because I just love
Mhm.
your vision, and I think it's really fantastic. And so I'm putting it out there for you, because I think you know, you've already proven that you can do it, and it's really really great. What is next for you?
Well, next, you know, who knows during the season, but I've been mainly, I ideally want to work on a feature for the next one. You know, I've had the fortunate experience of, you know, creating shorts at film school and after film school with my friends, and you know, so I'm like, maybe, you know, it's time to make the next step to a feature film, you know, figure out, you know,
Hmm.
how to do that. But yeah, definitely writing a couple scripts. You know, I have my awesome, you know, we have a little writers group team that we meet
Oh,
from
nice.
film school alumni, so we just gather every week, discuss. But yeah, definitely a feature next, and we'll see what happens when the season
Yeah.
rolls
Well, I
around.
mean, I think so. You have that every single week.
Yeah, yeah, every Friday actually. Yeah.
And so do you, is that like a nice sort of like way, I mean, in this time as well, just keeping consistent with, you know, your creativity, right?
Hmm.
You know, to kind of keep so each other motivated. Do you find that
Yes,
kind of important during this time?
it's been very important. It's like such a big fresh of air. Like we always, you know, kind of all of us are anticipating that next writers meeting, because you know, it's kind of the one moment where we get to kind of close off everything and just focus on, you know, creative stuff and just helping each other out to become better storytellers. So yeah, we give each other assignments every week, so we're on top
Dude,
of each other. Yeah, it's
oh, I
quite,
love
you know,
it.
in depth. So it's been fun.
You're gonna have a lot of wannabes wanting to join your therapeutic film group.
Yes,
You
therapy is
know?
the right word.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that is so great. And I think, I hope everybody else out there, you know, does the same thing, because I think so many people just feel a bit stagnant in their creativity and their art forms. And I think when you've got a team of people, I mean, we need each other. We need human
Mhm.
connectivity. And so I think that's fantastic. Are you doing a kind of similar genre in this next movie? Is it something different?
No, it's definitely something a bit different. It's the next one I would want to go for is it's centered around baseball. It's
Oh,
it's a rivalry drama. So it's
nice.
not the typical sports film. It's, you know, trying to bend it a bit and make it more
Well, I always feel like you're going to make movies that surprise us and going to just keep us on the edge of our seats because we never know what's going to come in next. So I love that you've got that about your work. With relation to Beam and to being a filmmaker, is there any advice you could share out there for any filmmaker that wants to follow in your footsteps? Maybe something you learned from this project or just something you hold by in general.
I think especially if you want to venture into the directing route, I've learned that really, you want to control every aspect of a project, no matter how minute or how big. I think it's just really trusting the crew that you have and kind of letting them do their work, in their space. So I think when you trust them, you kind of take away some of that burden off you and you get to focus on the bigger picture and the performances. So I think that's a really big key if you want to go into directing or are a director.
I love that you said that because I don't think we really understand fully that we don't say that. We're too kind of almost scared to say that word trust, about how much we trust the people we work with.
Right.
But you really go into it like a family and you really have to trust each other to get through and trust the whole process. And so that is a great thing. I love that. Well, listen, I'm so glad that you made this film. I can't wait to see your baseball alternate feature. And please keep making more movies for us.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This was super awesome. The whole event, your team, it was amazing.